reflection papers. How do you write them? How do we survive this? How do we do this? Hi, I'm Jeffrey, one of the TAs for this class. You know who I am if you're watching this video. So I'm going to provide a little bit of a help sheet, a guide to improve your reflection papers. Now, I want to give a big caveat here. Big caveat. This is not guaranteed to raise your grade. This is guaranteed, though, to help you understand what's being asked of you. On one hand, I can't guarantee that you're going to get that 10, but on the other hand, this will increase your chances of being able to slide into that criteria. The other thing to remember is that this is still informal. This isn't a formal refutation that will hold conclusive for what you're claiming. These reference papers can be great proving grounds, if you will. You try out ideas, you see what sticks. So, without further ado, here we go. First, I want to say what a reflection paper isn't. A book report, a high school English essay, or some kind of summary of the text. That isn't what we're looking for. And if you put those in there, you're going to end up tanking your grade for the particular assignment. You might ask then, if it's not a book report, if it's not a high school English essay, it's none of those things. If it's not summarizing the text, what do you want from me? What do you want from me? I'll tell you. Aside from it being a place where you draft assertions and arguments, think of it like a hot take that you're elaborating on. The purpose of this paper is to help you connect your thoughts and with the concepts that we're dealing with in the text. Another sort of underground kind of, down low feature of this is it's also a way to teach yourself and teach others how to read complex text in the way that you do. Because you have takes on things. You have things to say. So we're just trying to help you out on how to say them.
Some basic foundation tips. You don't need an intro. The thesis statement is a great first sentence. Stick to 2 to 4 citations. For each step of the argument, start a new paragraph. And please, for everyone's sake, don't pad the word count. Because we can tell.
With all that, what does all that mean? Why no intro? You're not writing for an audience that's unfamiliar with the work. You don't have to spend precious time in your paper to acclimate us to what's being talked about. We know what's being talked about. Just get right to the point. Right to the point. Right to the point. Anything more, and it starts to look like you're just putting in padding so you can hit a word count. And indeed, I ended up seeing that a lot with the reflection papers, papers that were 6s or 7s, could have been 8s or even 9s, had they not done the padding thing. I want to be clear here. I'm not calling y'all out because you're bad people about putting padding in. All of us have done it, even me. It's what we're trained to do, because I'm betting beforehand, most of you have never had to do this kind of thing before. And that's okay. You're learning here. That's the whole point. You're learning. Now it's just time to unlearn a particular habit you got in high school or in another class. And hopefully it'll help you be a little bit more direct and to the point when you're talking to other people. So that's why no intro. It's not a book report. Again, it's not a summary. Think of this like a step-by-step manual for something complex. There's no fluff. If you're telling someone or teaching someone how to do something, the last thing you need to know is all of this extraneous information,
Since the beginning of time, or mankind has always struggled, or these questions are eternal.
No. I don't need to know that mankind has struggled with flat tires since the invention of motor carriages in order to change a tire. Just get right to how to change the tire. You've done this. This YouTube. So what are 2 to 4 citations? What's that about? That's mainly trying to give you a guide of how much space you have in this paper, which is to say
0.
You have literally less than a page. Literally less than a page. So choose 2 to 4 in text citations to supplement your point. But above all, now you might think to yourself, wait a minute, hold on, hold the phone. I'm an exhausted college student. You're asking me to come up with a hot take that I might not even have energy for. Also, concepts in the text? What is that supposed to even mean? Yeah, the way you're talking about it, it sounds like sort of the bullshit anything goes stuff that, you can't exactly quantify and, is just such a part of the humanities and what have you. And to that, let's take it one step at a time and I'll show you what I mean. How do you come up with a take? First step is to look at the concepts in the text. What the fuck is a concept in the text? Well, I'll show you.
All right. So concepts in the text are a little tricky, but I'll go ahead and show you what it looks like here. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to think about the first concept that comes to mind when I'm reading Frankenstein. And I'm trying to figure out what that is. Oh, yeah, scientific progress. That makes sense. That's a big theme of the story. It's all about making progress in science in perverse ways that often violate personhood or cause questions about personhood to be raised. That's right. Personhood is a great concept that is in play in this text. Otherwise, we wouldn't have so many slides about it. There's also responsibility. Responsibility is a tricky one here, as well as creation. When we're talking about how creation and responsibility are tied together, how do we hold people responsible for what they create? There's also the whole development angle, not only from the scientific progress angle, but also from the creature developing and seemingly growing, despite the fact that he's made from dead human tissue. And of course, this brings into relief knowledge. Knowledge is a huge part of this story's conceptual framework. A lot of how we think about things is through how we know them, and coming to know can also mean we come to regret, like Victor does in the story. When we're thinking about regret, well, that's a lot of what characterizes Victor's actions. Something to think about.
So where do we go from here? Well, next thing we do is we've chosen our concept, and now we're going to develop our claim. So how do we develop a claim? Well, the most easy thing I can tell you to do, what do you disagree with? What strikes you as wrong? You can go for the agree angle, though, like, hey, that's the ticket. That's the thing. That's what I need in my life. But most of the time, you're going to be disagreeing. And it's not enough to say,
this shit is stupid. Why would anyone believe this?
That's not really an argument. That's more of a general assertion that has very little persuasive power. You're trying to persuade or convince or get other people to see what you see and agree with you, right? When we're developing a claim, I usually go for where are the shoulds. Should Victor regret his actions in creating the creature? And then I try to answer that for myself. Sometimes this is like journaling out, a couple of quick thoughts. Sometimes it's a couple of quick words. An example of that might look like this.
All right, so I'm going to choose regret for the take here. I'm going to write down regret in creation. Yeah, all right. I'm going to put a little arrow. I like arrows. How does that make me feel? It makes me feel sad. Regret makes me feel sad. That's right. So where do I go from here? Well, why do I feel sad about regretting creation? Well, let's draw one more squiggly arrow here. Well, it says because I created something harmful. Yeah, no, that's a reason to regret creation. So where do we go from here? Well, let's see. I now have to be responsible on account of that harm, and that's pretty complicated. And so that leads me to ask the question: is this right? How does that responsibility work? And all of a sudden, I'm off to the races because now I've got a crunchy question that makes me make that face.
So that might be one way to sort of think about developing a claim, just brainstorming, jotting messy notes down, and see if you can figure out where your points of agreement or disagreement are. Once you figure that out, then you can start thinking about the overall structure of the reflection. What does that look like?
So a reflection usually consists of three primary parts. First is the claim with the example, usually the examples from the text. And next, there's a wrinkle or complication with that initial claim that raises some tension that interests the reader that they also may hold.
And then you have the response to the complication, which can be grounded in either the text or not the text. And you might be asking, okay, cool, but how the fuck do I come up with this? There's what I call the 3C approach. 3C, as in the letter C. Not the body of water. First C is connection. Second C is critique. The final C is careful elaboration. Collaboration. No. C elaboration. Yes. So, what do these mean? Well, I'll tell you. So connection refers to you choose a concept that you notice in the text. You connect that to something that you know about from experience, from your own experience, whatever that might be. And you tell us why that connection matters in your understanding of the text. Why should we look at the text, the example that you pulled, in the way that you've specified? Why is that connection important? An example of a connection claim might look something like this.
Victor's plight of trying to control the creature is analogous to the plight of many content creators. Our intentions for creation only go so far, and if our creation runs rampant, it's out of our control.
So that's a connection claim. Next up is a critique claim. This is charitably pointing out problems with the text. The problem might be how the text handles a concept, or it might be the concept that's introduced simpliciter. It might just there's something wrong with the concept, not in how it's handled. And again, charitably is the operative word here. Just writing out an entire, rant about how this book
Sucks, everything sucks, you suck.
While it can be cathartic, it can be good for the emotions, you feel better afterwards, it ain't going to get you the grade you want. And instead, it's going to end up hamstringing you. So I fully encourage you, if you do have those kinds of feelings, get them out, journal about it. Just don't submit it for a grade, because otherwise I'm going to have to. Yeah. Anyway, so what's an example of critique?
Treating the destruction of the creature as an inevitable moral imperative excludes other possibilities from consideration. Victor dodged responsibility through appealing to natural law, which he challenged in the first place.
So that's what critique might look like, at least a critical claim. And again, these examples are not meant to be ideal, right? They're not perfect. They can be improved upon. They can be further developed. That's okay. And you're going to have the same problem. But the point is to get started and build from something that's already there. Because trying to do all this in your head is
a nightmare.
Finally, we have careful elaboration, collaboration, celebrate good times. Come on. Here is where you can carefully flesh out or provide further evidence to a concept in the text. Okay. This is useful for concepts that you think are spot on, like concepts you really agree with. But, and be careful of this, the idea is not to regurgitate. This isn't an exam. You're not going to vomit out the right answer for us. That's found in a teacher's handbook. The point is to build on what you agree with, to go, yes, and to go, that's right. Here's where we can take it. And that's the point of careful elaboration. So what's an example of that?
Victor's regret in creating the creature should feel relevant for anyone who does content creation. What we create, even when it escapes our control, still reflects back on us through the reasons and ways we went about creating it in the first place.
That's a little bit wordy, but hopefully you get the gist of what's happening. I'm applying it to a certain area of expertise and I'm moving forward. Oftentimes, careful elaboration will involve connection. So maybe it can help you to think of it as a specific kind of connection approach. Otherwise, if that muddies the waters, please ignore everything I just said. I hope this helps illuminate the structure here. I'm going to go ahead and put up the slides here one more time. So that way you can look at them, take notes if you want. You can ask me questions over email this weekend. And in the meantime, think hard, think carefully, and I'll see you soon.